Twisters is a disaster film directed by Lee Isaac Chung, who is known for the 2020 film Minari, as well as the Mandalorian episode The Convert. The screenplay is written by Mark L. Smith, who is known for co-writing The Revenant. Joseph Kosinski is responsible for the story that the script is based on. You may recognize Kosinski as the director of another recent legacy sequel, Top Gun Maverick. All that said, it isn't exactly accurate to label Twisters as a legacy sequel. You know the legacy sequel formula. It isn't a sequel, it isn't a remake, it's something in between. You have the original cast as supporting characters making way for fresh blood, often dying to do so. Sometimes the fresh blood are carbon copies of the original characters, sometimes they are their own offspring. I am so thankful that they didn't do that here. Outside of its concept and structure, this film ignores the existence of the original. It isn't an exact remake, but more a reimagining. It is not the same characters, but it is largely the same story, yet it feels fresh. They could have easily had Helen Hunt return as some kind of tornado expert that they need to call in to save the day during Act 3. They even could have made her related to one of the new characters, but they don't. It avoids being formulaic, it avoids being pandering, it avoids being out of touch. Just like with Top Gun Maverick, the filmmakers know that audiences want a fun popcorn blockbuster that is confident in its mission to entertain and to help you escape. The audience doesn't want memes, they don't want meta jokes about how silly the film is, they don't want to be preached to. The film takes itself seriously in the most fun way possible, and it never lets up on the promise to be simple escapist entertainment. As storm season intensifies, the paths of former storm chaser Kate Carter and reckless social media superstar Tyler Owens collide, when terrifying phenomena never seen before are unleashed. The pair and their competing teams find themselves squarely in the paths of multiple storm systems converging over central Oklahoma in the fight for their lives. Letterboxd easily has the most fun plot synopses, so I'm going with that one. Daisy Edgar Jones plays Kate, and she does a great job at selling every emotion. She has a solid screen presence and works well in the lead. Of course, rising star Glenn Powell from Top Gun Maverick, as well as recent hits Anyone But You and Hitman, plays Tyler, who chases storms live on YouTube. He has a fun quote you may have seen in the trailer where he yells, "If you feel it," and his fans yell back, "Chase it." I actually think that this should be the tagline for the film. Hollywood doesn't do great taglines like they used to, or posters for that matter. The posters were bad for this movie. I think every aspect of the marketing is vital, but of course the trailers were so good for this that I don't think it'll lose its audience on a bad poster. Of course these characters are generic archetypes, but it is still satisfying when they start to peel back the layers and you find that there is more to them under the surface, particularly Powell's character. The cast isn't as strong as the original, but they are solid and work well for the film. I unfortunately did not care for any of the other characters, and this is the kind of film where you want to care a bit for everyone involved, so that when some of them are inevitably sucked up into a tornado, you're shocked and bummed. I can't really blame the film for not wasting time on side characters though. It is no secret that Helen Hunt had been trying to get a sequel off the ground for years. Sadly, Bill Paxton and Philip Seymour Hoffman are no longer with us, so I don't think a sequel would have been the right thing to do at this point. I am a big fan of the 1996 Twister. I probably love it more than I should. It is one of the best examples of a thrilling family blockbuster ever, in my opinion. The team assembled for the original cannot be beaten. Director of Speed and writer of Jurassic Park. I miss the disaster film trend of the 1990s and 2000s. Dante's Peak and The Day After Tomorrow are some others that I have affection for. Whilst the film 2012 was a success, it was around the time of its release that the genre became tired. At the time, the dominance of comic book films was on the rise, and it seemed that there wasn't much room in the blockbuster space for anything else. Now that comic book films are not the juggernaut that they once were, Hollywood is trying to find a new direction when it comes to the popcorn blockbuster. I am not saying that Twisters is the beginning of a disaster film resurgence. That's not what people are looking for. However, following 2022's Top Gun Maverick, it is another example of throwing back to a time when blockbusters were unabashedly and sincerely over the top and fun. I remember watching Twister as a kid and being so scared by the concept. The shots of the car narrowly dodging the tornado or things flying through the air thrilled me. I suspect this new film will have the same effect on kids today. It isn't a horror film, but for them, it is just the right level of daring intensity. Of course, Twister opted for CGI over practical effects more than other films of the genre at the time, and the tornadoes themselves haven't exactly aged well. I know that when watching it now. I also didn't realise how campy the film was as a kid. I took it so seriously. In fact, I wish Twisters was a bit more campy like the original. Twisters is not as good as the original Twister, or Top Gun Maverick for that matter, but I had a good time with it. I wasn't sure if I was going to be into it during its first half, but once the tornado action really kicked in, the film found a steady groove. The music in this film left something to be desired for me. It never feels exciting when it comes to the music. It is mostly country music. I know that the original had country music in it, and yes, it reflects the locations and the culture. I'm not a country music hater, but the original had Van Halen as well, and that style of rock music really drove those action sequences and made them feel fast and intense. The pacing is fairly good overall, but I just wished that the music was more energetic. One thing I really appreciated about this film is that it was shot with 35mm Kodak film stock. Not only does it harken back to the look and feel of the original, but it beautifully captures the vibrant colours of the Oklahoma landscapes. Not only is it great to look at, but it helps the film to feel more tangible. This decision was vital, as not only does it raise the bar for how modern Hollywood blockbusters should look, but it forces the people in front of and behind the camera to bring their A-game every time. Dune Part 2 is another recent example of this. This film is going to be a big success at the box office, and I'm glad. This is the kind of tentpole blockbuster we need right now. It isn't high art. Don't go in expecting a complex scientific script or deep characters. Go in and expect to escape and have fun. When I was walking out of this film, I overheard a dad talking to his son in the lobby. He was excited after seeing it, expressing this to his son, and his son said he thought it was better than the first film. It made me happy to hear that this kid was getting the same kind of thrill out of this that I got out of the first when I was his age, and that he could enjoy that with his dad. The current summer movie season is shaping up to be quite strong for general audiences. Of course, in Australia, it isn't summer, it's currently winter. Despite me disliking winter, it almost enhanced the experience for me. As I was driving to the cinema, there was a particularly intense storm raging. It was raining heavily and the wind was blowing so hard that I barely had to push my car door to open it. I took advantage of the tone of the night by fully soaking in the nature of the film. I got a drink and a box of popcorn. I never get popcorn, but I figured that I would because, well, this is a popcorn film. My theatre was packed, and if the post-film chatter is any indication, then I wasn't the only one who had a good time. Take your family or a group of friends and just escape for 2 hours. You won't regret it.